Hey guys, Richie here from My Hobby Hobbies. Welcome back to part number 3 on my 16th scale Tiger build. And yeah, we're going to continue the main assembly. So, goal of this week is get this thing put together, as you can see here, and ready for paint next week. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, welcome back. So, go back at this, I'm working on the hull. First of all, just want to show where I'm at with the turret. Last week, as you see, we left it off. It was looking very pink, and yeah, so that joint compound's dried. Primed it black, but it's rattle can like the rest of it, and added a little bit of white to create that shadow coat, so ready for paint. And I hope you agree with me, but I think it's looking really good. That the joint compound's definitely thicker than the putty, and it gets that extra kind of texture, as you can see on here, looking more realistic and kind of gnarly, the way I was kind of hoping it would be. And on the other side, so yeah, so that's what we did there. So let me kind of put him to the side. And upper hole. So added a few parts on top here. I didn't add any tools. These were these holes for the tools or the tow cable, because I want to paint that separately. It's gonna be a lot easier to paint that stuff separately, I think. Also didn't add the photo etch grills yet, because I wanted to add the putty. As you can see here, I got a little bit left over. I want to do the Zimmerit because I don't want to get putty on the photo etch, because then it'd be probably game over. It'd be hard to get it off. So I want to make sure I've got all the Zimmerit on, and then I'm gonna add the photo etch grills right now after it. So add a few little parts here and there. The front here, this little, I added the bracket for the lamp. I didn't add the lamp, and I didn't add the wire because obviously you need Zimmerit behind it. So Zimmerit the exact same way as last part number 2. So if you haven't seen it already, go back and watch it. Same way, using the old, it's heavy, this stuff. Basically joint compound or spackle for walls. Went on no problem at all, it's sticking fine. Goes on pink and then it dries white. So you can kind of see what we've got going on here. I'm going to do it the same way as the other one. I'm going to add a second coat. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to put more on top and create more of that kind of 3D texture, which I want to see on here. So yeah, so going back to the front here, spackled it first, did a Zimmerit, and then I added this pipe right afterwards before it dried, so it sat in place and glued it. No problem at all. Left the machine gun off. Again, it impede me kind of using that tool, getting in there and adding the joint compound. So I'm going to basically add another little layer on here, like I mentioned, just certain parts, create a little bit more 3D effect, and then we'll move on from there. So what I've done here is I've highlighted certain parts which I've not added yet on the instructions, and I need to go through and add those now once Zimmerit's done, and then that's pretty much it. Not too much to talk about on this one. It's pretty straightforward, one piece. So yeah, like I say, paint tools up separately, and then once this is done, then we get the lower hole and start kind of getting these two parts together. Now there are some holes here you can see on the side. I want to draw from the inside before we go ahead and add before we add and glue this together, so we can still access the holes. Now one thing I totally forgot to mention is the side skirts. So what I've done here is I've taken my razor saw and just sawed down each seam line, just create like that natural kind of break. And I thought, you know what, let me get my lighter out and see if I can get these kind of bent a little bit. And what it turned out to do was, just by holding my lighter for a few seconds, it kind of created all this melted plastic and kind of created all this down the side. And I think it actually looks pretty realistic, to be honest with you. So it actually turned out pretty cool. So I've got one of these from Amazon. I use it for soldering, for solder paste with that's like a light, but it's figure out. But it's like one of these, like a jet flame. I think you can see a flame here. So this thing's pretty powerful. I literally just held it with the plastic like that. See, for a couple seconds, and it creates that melted plastic. So a lot of horrible fumes and stuff, but I think it does a good job just to get the corners. Like that, and so there there we go. It kind of makes it a little bit gnarly and again a little bit more battle damage and not that kind of like factory fresh kind of look. So that's how I did that. Whew, the fumes are pretty toxic. That's probably not a health and safety good thing to do there. But anyway, so done that. I'm gonna add a little bit more spackle on the side like I mentioned, and then we'll get going with a lower hole. All right, so moving along nicely with this. So first the upper hole, I've added these guys, no problem at all. The photo etch, just a little bit of super glue lightly around the sides and glue this guy in, each of them. Now to note, you've got to before you glue these guys on, you got to put this on. So I could just lift it up. I glued it, but I could lift it up and then I managed to thread this over it and glue it on these plates. So working on the lower hole, this is now turning a lot of fun. It's like part works, like the D'Agostini 1/8 scale cars, because you've got a lot of screws and stuff going on. So I built the sprocket wheels, and you're kind of working through this. Oh, sorry, knocking the microphone there. You're working through this, all different bolt sizes and screws, so making sure you're using the right ones. And I've done one side, and this is a bear to do. So it's all like working suspension arms, but springs are so springy, it hurts your fingers. It was tricky. So I put sprocket wheels on, and you couldn't get in there with these ones, so I had to take the sprocket wheel off. So put these on first, and then, then add the sprocket wheel. So this one's obviously been removed. Thing to note here too is, so on this side, per the instructions, this is the right side, they go facing back. Like screw on the facing back. On this side, they go forward. Because the holes are a lot not the same on the other side. So you put them forward, so the opposite way around. So pay attention to that. So right side, they face away from the idler wheel, and on the left side, they face towards the idler wheel. So basically, you got this bit of rubber that kind of goes in here. Just make sure it's marked M1 and M2. Make sure you got the right side. So you put this bit of rubber on, and it's gonna be real tricky to show you on camera, but I'll try my best here to do one. What you can basically do is take one of these pieces and put the nut, in the one side of it. Now one of these is flat and the other one's, so I have to do those ones at the front. I'm not sure the reasoning why. It's slightly different to the others. You can see here, that's flat and that one's kind of different shape. So I'm not sure the reason again. So yeah. So anyway, so I put a flat one at the front, bolt in, and then the bolt goes through the actual suspension arm here. Just put the bolt in. So if you prepare this before, it makes it a little bit easier. And then you got these really pingy springs, plus you've got all this junk and pins in the way for your hands, so it makes it extra tricky. So what you're going to do here is, if you can kind of see this on camera, it's not going to be easy for you, but you basically put the spring in, and you kind of pull it over both sides of the plastic there, or the rubber part, and this guy holds it in. Now my nut just fell out. Of course, where I've got my other hand holding the tension of the spring. Yeah. Then one finger, I'm going to pull the spring over, like hold it tension, and then this kind of holds it in place. Again, you're not going to see anything here with my fingers, but you have to try and trust me on this one. It's just a bear to get this stuff in. So I can't quite do it on camera, so let me do it off camera. Okay, so I've got it kind of pressed up here, and again, not really going to see much here, but I'm going to put the arm in, and you kind of feel it kind of lock, and then quickly screw it in before you let go of the spring on the other side. And there we go. I mean, let me tighten it up a little bit. This is, again, you have to kind of need free hands for this. Okay, tighten up a bit. So then you got that, and on the other side you kind of see what's got going on. So that piece, again, you kind of holding this spring, you kind of pushing, it goes over one side, and then you kind of stretching it over the other side. You're pushing this guy in with your hand, holding it, and then you're screwing from this end in. And that is how you do it. It's not easy at all. There might be an easier way of doing it. Hopefully you can find an easier way, but it kind of shreds your fingers. You just got to, again, just got to get that spring over. Get this piece of plastic held in place with your finger. Quickly put your arm on, screw it on, and that's it. You're good to go. Again, the main thing here, just a reminder: don't put the sprocket wheels on. Do these guys first, and once on the right side, you're going back away from the sprocket wheel, and on here, you're going towards the sprocket wheel, different direction. So just remember that, and you should be in good shape. So let me fight through the rest of these, get the rest of them on, and we can finally move on to the next stage. Yeah, it's kicking my ass. This bit is really hard, these springs, so they're so springy, so much tension in there. All right, so got it in place, no problem at all. Both sides done, lower hole, suspension arms. This piece here is just glued in place because I lost the bolt from the inside. I've looked everywhere, the trash can and stuff, I can't find it. So I just, actually extra thing glued the plastic part on the outside in place, so that suspension arm won't move, which is not a big deal, I guess. So that one's done, and as you can see, this beast, we've got the turret on, and you have to put the turret on before you sandwich it together because it fits with like this ring. So you got this giant like ring that sticks, plastic ring sticks in, 4 screws, hold it in place, and then it moves around. So you can't paint it separately, unfortunately. You have to do it all at one go. So there you go. So what's up next is, carefully place this, got to work on the back side here, get all this bit finished. That will go onto the lower hole, and then we can put the top on. And as you can see here, it's literally just 2 screws, it clips in the front, 2 screws at the back with panels that go over the top to cover the screws, 2 little plastic panels, and that is it. We also got all the road wheels left to do as well, but in terms of the main assembly, getting close now. So I'm going to work on this back end here, get it all made up, get it glued on, and we get this top put on, and we can kind of see how it all fits. Okay, so got the whole thing put together of the wheels and looking really good. So lift it up, you can see here on the big camera, all painted, spray painted black with the white kind of shadow coat added on. So as mentioned, you've got to put the turret on first, and then the back here, this piece, this all screwed together, no glue, so you can take the thing apart technically. So 2 screws holding the back on, and then this part on here, show on this camera here. So 2 screws holding this guy on, and then on here, see here, 2 screws, screw this top part down. It clicks in the front, no glue at the front, just 2 screws at the back, and then these little covers go on top. So that is basically it, 4 screws holding this whole thing together, and hope you agree, it's looking pretty awesome. So this guy obviously rotates and all that kind of stuff. Here's where I drop it probably. Yeah, so looking really cool. So I think you start work on the road wheels, and then we'll pretty much get ready for paint with this guy. Hopefully it's not going to use too much paint. I'm not going to hose it on, nice thin coat, and yeah, hopefully we'll see some of this pre-shading come through. So let me get starting on all the road wheels, which aren't so bad. It's 24, I think, wheels, but it's like, I think they're built in assemblies of 2 or 3 together. So we'll get cracking on that one, and we'll be right back. Alright, so this is literally the 4th or 5th take of filming this little segment with the wheels. Yeah, my battery ran out on my camera last time round. The time before that, my Google Home just started randomly going on about spray painting and tips for some reason, interrupting me. So hopefully we can get through this one on take number 5. So should be pretty polished with this now. So step number 2, 8 road wheels. I believe it's these ones here which fit closest to the hole. And then step number 3, 8, which have a little bit of a raise at the back. So it means they kind of interlink like this once you're on the hole. It's all, but these it's all about knowing which is which, because you're in bags, they're all cut out, no cleanup required, just so you don't know what part number's which. So just trying to figure out which one to use and kind of go from there, really. There are some gnarly ejection pin marks on the inside of all these, but unlike the tracks, I'm not going to clean them up because you're not going to see it, because the track hugs around it and it's solid, so you're not going to see on the inside here. So these ejection pin marks, I'm not going to worry about. Now, you do have the rubber to add on the end, which makes painting a little bit easier. They just kind of fit over pretty snugly. And so the good thing about this is I'm building them all as units of 3 wheels, because if I paint them separately, it's going to take forever to do 48. So I'm doing them as batches, and so I'm going to prime and paint them, and then I can just simply, because I'm not glued, take them apart, so I can access rubber from the front, rubber from the back for these 2, and then rubber for this one, and then just slot it back together when the rubber's applied. And that's going to be the easiest way to do this, I think. Yeah, so that's my game plan, at least, anyway. What else? Tiny little screws to screw these guys on together. These little tiny little screws. Top tip, this is from Partworks. I use a wearer. This is from Amazon. They're really good quality screwdrivers, but they're really not that expensive. I think like $5 or $6 from Amazon Prime. This is a wearer PH0. Which I find works for most things. I have a PH00, which is a lot smaller too, but this one is gripping the screws. So it's nice to have a nice screwdriver and a magnetic, and just get them here and just touch them up. Now I'm saying magnetic, I don't think they come out of the box magnetic. I did buy a little magnetic device from Amazon where you just run a screwdriver through and it magnetizes it. So that's probably, I don't think off the bat, I don't think they are magnetized, but you can easily do it with that, you know, $10 tool, whatever. So that's really it. Just following instructions here. Like I said, it's all about knowing which parts are which. I'm getting these together, 8 of each. And if I go through to part number 7, you'll see exactly how they fit onto the tank. So again, we're going to paint these all up, get the rubber attached, and once they're done and the hole's painted, we'll just put these onto the hole, slot them on, and then weather the whole thing up as one unit together, I think. So let me go ahead and spend some time working through all these different parts, get them all put together and painted, and we'll be right back. Alright, so built them all up. You see, painted them, added the rubber, no problem at all. Simply just take it apart, add the rubber on these two, add the rubber on that one, and just clip them back together again. So, got them all assembled. I got one side on already, but I don't want to show that yet because I painted the tank, and that'll be next week's part. So simply took them outside, as I mentioned, spray painted them. If I remember, put a little picture up just showing you, just basically throw them in the box, the lid, spray them outside, you know, there's no fumes, outside in the backyard, and just move, you know, do one area, move them around, leave it 20-30 minutes, then move them around, spray a little bit more, then the other side, and just loosely cover it all. Then in the spray booth and painted with the usual color here we're going with, which is LP. Let me see, LP 77, which is the main color we're using for the tank. So sprayed them, like, again, not hosed on, lightly dusted on. You can see this, you know, it's certainly not covered, but it adds some weathering effect to it. So I've done that. They're ready to go on. Now, I done one side already, and here's a problem. These pins don't want to go on the suspension arms, these suspension arms. These suspension arms right here, they just don't want to go on at all. So I fought with this thing, I chipped it, I did all kinds of things, almost broke the tank. And what I found is I just need drill. The holes aren't big enough, so I just took my trusty Milwaukee drill here and just drilled out each of these suspension arms. Real simple, just drilled them out a little bit wider, and this happens to be a 1/8. In the US here on metric still, so 1/8, whatever that is in centimeters and millimeters, I don't know. So 1/8 of an inch worked fine. Maybe a little too big. Maybe if I could just drop it down one drill bit smaller. But it definitely fit on no problem at all. It's going to slide right on, whereas before it's a huge effort just even trying to get them on. So what I do recommend when you put these guys on is obviously you follow the instructions here and kind of line them up the way it should be. So here, starting this side, we're doing a 2 at the front. So wait, they're all same. Here we go. So we're going to put that one first, and then that one goes in, then that one. I recommend you kind of interlink them like this first, and then just literally just slot them onto the suspension arms, and you'll be no problem at all. Then the tracks go around, put the pin in, and you're good to go. So that's the wheels done. So that's the little section. That's how I did the wheels. It's pretty straightforward. Just again, just remember to drill out these here. Otherwise, you can have a huge hassle trying to get these on. But a 1/8 drill bit, no problem at all. But again, if you have one slightly smaller, it might be a little bit better, tighter fit, because they do come off. But yeah. So there we go. Right, guys, that's it. That's the end of part number 3. So recording this a few days later because I had a real mare with this this part. I lost all kinds of footage and different clips and stuff when I tried to edit it, so it was a little bit disjointed. So hopefully it's barely viewable. So I apologize for a little bit of choppiness of this one. And sneak preview, you can actually see it painted right here because obviously it's a few days later. I've come back to do this ending to finish this video off. So thank you for hanging in there. Look forward to seeing you next week, and have a good weekend.